Carl Sasyn.
He's been putting out all sorts of stuff about mental health on Facebook, and he has a company that he deals with pro athletes and preparation and how to deal with with life in general in sports. And I think this is a great time of year to bring something to light like this, because I'll tell you, I've had a tough week myself, a tough couple of weeks. And it's expected to, right? If you don't expect it, you get you get hit with something. But at any rate, I want to introduce Carl, and you have the floor. So everybody, Carl Sasyn, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Gino. Appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Very good. I'm not a good introduction. I should have had Riley do the introduction. So
yeah, definitely.
Hey, once you guys get going, you're outstanding. They just takes a minute to warm up the teapot there to get rolling. So it's all good, man. For those of you who don't know, I'm an official. I've been doing pro hockey for a long minute here, over 20 years. Been in the American League for 19, 3 Calder Cup finals, outdoor game. Worked the OHL, ECHL, ECAC, just been around a little bit, traveled a couple miles on me.
Congratulations, man.
Now, listen, Carl, before you get going, I want to say something too, right? That's a lot of hard work and dedication, because I remember when you first came in, you were a little chunky. And, I'm not going to lie. And then the next time I saw you, you were doing the shakes, you were doing the ropes, and you got yourself ripped and in shape. And you got yourself to 3 Calder Cup finals, and that's something you should be very, very proud of. So that went without didn't go out.
That's incredible,
pal. So
yeah, Gino, when you say shakes, don't do this. All right?
Yeah. I was going to ask. I was going to ask about that, man.
I mean, we all. Just saying, I'm just pointing it out. And the other stuff you say right before, that's called the fucking introduction.
Yeah, I thought it was the weekend.
No. Oh, he was talking about that shake weight. That one they got that Susan Summers had.
Yeah,
it was a
there
shake
you go.
weight. So I got rid of the flab. I did the shake weight thing, Just helped me out.
There you go.
Oh, man. But one of the things I learned, I played for a minute. Wasn't very good. But, I played in the Coast for a bit and played in the Sunshine Hockey League, as I talked to Nate and Ross about. But the mental performance thing, when I came up, wasn't available. You put dirt on it, you iced it into Zam water, which is a cesspool of filth with spit and blood, but you put ice on it, you sucked it up. You got through it. There were no times to talk about how you felt. Back in the day, you just dealt with it. And things have changed. The whole game has changed. And they're starting to see more. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy speaking from experience. I've been in the trenches. I know what it's like to screw up a call. I know what it's like to get an assignment taken away. I know what it's like not to be prepared. And I know how to deal with athletes that get themselves in this. The number one concern athletes come to me with is confidence and self-doubt. They just don't know what to make of things anymore. And I don't think they need coddling. They just need a little talk to get them back to the right track. And that's what I do with athletes. I work with athletes all across the country at all levels in all different sports about the mental preparation. And then for us now as officials, we're in the thick of it. I had a game last week with Milwaukee, and everybody was miserable. I mean, miserable beyond misery. And it was an environment which was no fun allowed. Guys were pissing and moaning all day long. And I'm like, come on, seriously. And it was even Sunday. And I'm like, come on. But anyways, the importance of mental preparation is key. And right now we're at a point in the season where everything's magnified, right down to face-off locations. Our efforts are being questioned. Guys are all over us about everything. We have to be at the top of our game, but we're coming into the last part of the season. It's the grind, the miles, the travel, the different leagues, the rule books, all those things come into play. And that's why mental preparation is so critical during this period in time, because working on that foundation by fostering preparations, patience, persistence, teamwork, and effective communication, which builds unity, is key. And that's why we do these things, and I work with athletes on it, because communication is going to be the underlying theme of this whole discussion, because communication is the most important tool we have as officials. It must be clear, it must be consistent, it must be open. And communication builds clarity. So effective communication ensures that everyone on the team understands their roles, responsibilities, rules, and objectives. But communication minimizes confusion, prevents mistakes, and ensures everyone's on the same page. So you can't have too much of it. And it helps us become more efficient, allows us to make educated decisions, especially in high-pressure situations, because that's what we're dealing with. Everyone's fighting for the playoff spot. Seasons are on the line. If we're in pro hockey, jobs are on the line. But communication is key because it strengthens trust. We encourage that collaboration amongst the team. You need to have a unified front, and that just helps us perform better. But the key to getting that is preparation, which builds the confidence. So we do so by reviewing before games. You do the team standings. You talk about the team matchup. You talk about the game implications. And then you talk about player tendencies. You talk about set plays teams may have and different things that they're doing. And then the building you're in as well, because the buildings, the score clocks are in different locations. The players come out in different spots. They cross it at the intermissions. Like, you need to figure all this stuff out ahead of time. And that's what preparation's about. And then also you get into the mode of positive self-talk, because we can all be pissy and moany because it was a long drive. It was snowy. Coming to the rink with a bad mindset, you're going to perform bad because it's already in your head. So you got to be positive going into that. And that's just positive self-talk. Instead of I'll try and have a good game. Like, you might as well just go out and shit the bed right there. You're going to have a good game. I'm going to perform. I am prepared. I've seen these teams before. This is what we look out for. You can go as far as visualization, because you start to realize that if I'm in position in this instant, I can make a good call because I can see everything. If I'm the back guy in a 4-man official system, I got the benches, I've got the net, I know where I can go and where I can move. You visualize being in position, figure out the plays they're going to run. You visualize where you're supposed to be. And that preparation will build confidence, and confidence drives performance. So if you have the confidence, and then you'll perform better because you know you're prepared. And there's a great story, and for some of you on this know Troy G. Ward. Troy's an awesome man, great coach, great human being. He was our boss in the ECHL for 1 year, and he came down and would talk to us at the end of the game, and he'd flat out say, he goes, I'm not an official. I don't know the rules. That's not my deal. He goes, but did you notice in the first period the opponent was offsides 3 times, unforced errors? And he said, to me, that tells me they're not prepared. They're mentally checked out already. And that was a unique perspective that he gave me, because I realized, and I still to this day, and that was 20 years ago, realized that when teams are making unforced errors, they're not prepared. They checked out. When they do a shitty line change and they get caught with too many men or things like that, they're not prepared. And that's part of the communication you have before the game. One of the biggest things that I have, and a lot of you do, work college, pro, and junior and other leagues, know your rule book. Know what league you're working. If you have a question, ask it before the game. Don't get out there on the ice and do the old, I don't know. There's 4 of you out there. You need to have the information available. If you don't know, ask. And if you speak up and you don't know, you're just going to hurt the team. If you get an answer, if an answer starts with, well, I think, that's just bad information right there. When someone says that to me, where's the face-off? Well, I think it's there. Do you know or do you think? Because if you're thinking about it, that's not a good answer. So be prepared. And then in between periods, have communication. Talk about what's going on the ice. On the ice, you need communication, verbal and nonverbal. You should be able to make eye contact with your partner and know if he's got a bail on a line. You should know that the deep referee had to pivot behind the net, and you should be on point getting to that other side. Those are things that you cannot take for granted. If you take communication for granted, you will fail. And we don't do that out there because we're in the grind now. This is persistence wins the grind. The final months are the test of physical and mental strength because season's long, we're banged up, but persist through fatigue, slumps, and adversity. We've all had those moments where we may not be seeing things right, but you just got to persist, and you persist by competing just as hard as the players because we're out there to do the very best job we can as well as they are. And the more you persist, the more it builds momentum. And constantly showing up and putting in the effort. It's about some games taking it one play at a time, one stoppage at a time, one period at a time, one game at a time. But you progress. You stay in and you do the work. And that's what's key. And persistence trains the mind to endure pressure and discomfort. Because when it sucks, the Marines have a big saying, which is embrace the suck. So when it sucks, you got to show up. No matter what. You could have a game that's a blowout, but just because it's a blowout doesn't mean you mail it in. We've had those Sunday fun day games where nobody got the memo that you're not supposed to try today. And that's happened. And if you don't show up, something bad's going to happen. It's going to be on your watch. So you need to pay attention. And for me personally, game day preparation starts for me when I wake up. I wake up every day grateful. Because if you wake up with a shitty mindset, you're going to go through a shitty day. You can have a bad moment throughout the day, but you don't have to have a bad day. You can switch it like that and be good. It's a bad moment. It's not a bad day. But my entire day revolves around my assignment, like what I eat, where I go, how I spend my time, what my workout is that day. And for me, how you do anything is how you do everything. And you need to manage your emotions, especially on game day, because you don't want to show up to the rink and just be in a shit mood, because that's going to correlate into the performance on the ice. Because if your mindset's not in it, you're going to have an issue. And I leave nothing for chance on game day. I leave early, and Gino knows this. We got a 3-hour drive. So I leave 4 hours in advance because I don't want to be late. I don't want to be rushed. I have a plan, then I have a backup plan, then I have another plan. Guys up north with the weather, you have to have the plans because shit's going to happen, and you need to be prepared. And you want to walk in that building with a good headspace. You want to have your coffee. You want to check on the boys, make sure everybody's good. Me personally, my wife hates me on game day. I think she hates me 6 out of 7 days, but game day is the worst because I am very specific. What I eat, where I go, when I leave, where I fuel up. There's one stop to piss, eat, get water. You don't stop multiple times. I mean, I'm on a mission to get there, and I get there when I want, as early as I want, so I have enough time. But the other key is patience keeps focus. So late in the season, games are often unpredictable, and frustrations arise from tight games or just things that don't go the way. You can see a team struggling. You can see a goalie who can't catch the puck. He's not getting a corner, can't control his rebounds. People are going to struggle because it starts to affect them mentally because the weight of this gets to be bigger and bigger, and that's for us as well. But patience during these moments allows us to remain calm and make sound decisions. Me personally, when I act emotionally, I make shit decisions. I just make poor decisions when I react emotionally. But patience will limit your emotional response. And it's always like you pause for composure, process for insight, and execute for impact. And so you need to formulate these things before you go, because if you just go off quick and go boom, maybe it's not the right decision or you say the wrong thing. And I know how difficult it is because our game's emotional. And one of the things I can tell you is I don't take anything personally unless they make it personally. Unless they make it personal to me, I don't, they can pretty much say whatever. But if it gets personal, then I'll deal with it. And I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've given out one unsportsmanlike conduct as a linesman. One. And the guy said something pretty shitty. But for the most part, I'll have the exchange with the guy, but it's not personal. And typically we just look at each other and shrug our shoulders and we're done. You move on. So keep that in mind. For me, when I make a call and maybe I take that extra second to process it, then I hit the whistle. I'll catch a bunch of shit, but I'll tell them, you know what? You're exactly right. It was late, but it was the right call. And that's what they want. But you got to own that part of it too. Like you own the part that, you know what? You are correct. It was a late whistle, but it's the right call. And the guys just leave it with that for the most part, as long as you're honest with them. Because if you look indecisive and you start hubbubbing, because one thing I've learned is that the truth is one sentence. If you start elaborating, I know you're full of shit. It's either yes or no, black or white. If you start going, well, I saw this, and no, it's either yes or no. So the truth is one sentence. And remember, during this time is to keep your composure, because that's what makes the good great and a great amazing is the composure, the guys that don't crack, because it's all coming at you. I want the guy in my corner that's completely calm, dealing with it, and okay with what's happening. And then the team huddles are huge because they strengthen the decision-making process and create excellent optics. When you see guys huddle together, the commentators love that shit. They're like, oh, they huddled together, they came to a consensus, and then they came out with we made a decision. And to me, that really helps in those questionable calls or things people are looking at. College, you have the opportunity to go to review, but it's extremely important to come together in a huddle, bring everyone together, discuss and align and make a team decision. And these moments don't only ensure clarity in decision-making, but it also reinforces unity and collective focus because we're in as a group. And again, I don't like guys coming in saying, I think. Either you know or you don't. So when you come into these huddles, make sure that you talk about what's going on from an educated view, that you know what you're doing, because you don't want to come in with guesses. Guesses don't work. And then we have the timeout huddles, which are huge. It's not just for grabbing water and checking out the girls in the stands. The timeout huddles are for us to come together and talk about what's going on, who's pissed off, what to watch for. And then the thing I like to do at timeouts is I kind of take a moment just to absorb where I'm at. You know, I was they had a game, it was sellout 6,500, which is to take a moment during the games just to breathe and be present and make sure that, you know, I'm there absorbing everything that I've got. And then we go back and we talk about during the huddles, you have the linesmen and the referees on one side. Sometimes we're all together, but talk about what you see, what to watch for. You know, if you've got a pro game, you might have some fights or junior hockey, pay attention to that. If the team's down, make sure you know that the goalie may be pulled, looking out for cheap shots, but just collectively use that time to communicate. And then the other thing I always try to do, and I know Gino can attest to this, any guys who work with me, I try to have fun. This is fun. And it's not pressure, it's an opportunity. And we've earned the right to be in that position. And the other thing is I try not to think. I was talking to Nat and Ross, and I know you guys do, you have that voice in your head constantly evaluating ourselves as we go. And if you let that take over, you're going to end up making decisions where you're second guessing yourself. And one of the things I talk with athletes at is once you've done the preparation and you're there, you've done the work. Now all you're doing is executing. So I'd rather have guys react on instinct from the gut. That didn't look right. Not guess, but just know that didn't look right, and then act on that. And then one of the last things I like to talk about is unity drives success. So if we operate as one cohesive unit, that means we're all working towards the shared purpose, supporting each other, but we also hold each other accountable, which is huge. And that unity is what carries us through adversity and helps us thrive because we are a team. And you get that from the coaching staff. There's 2 teams out here. Well, there's actually 3 because we count as a team, and we compete just as hard as the home and the visitors. And it means just as much as us as to them to show up and do a good job. So as a team, you never bus drive your guys. You show up, you pick each other up. You're there for your teammates. We rise and we learn as a group. We don't fail, we learn, we educate ourselves. To me, the guy that consistently makes the mistake over and over, the same one, that's negligence. You're not paying attention. You're not learning. But if you make the mistake and you learn and you're become aware of how that mistake transpired, then you're going to learn and you're not going to have that mistake happen again. But you need to learn and you need to accept the criticism from it, and you need to own the responsibility of what came of that mistake. And so our decisions are driven by the team unity, but don't be afraid to stand up and be heard. Typically in a group of 4 officials, you're going to have one that is the alpha male who may want to impose his will upon the group. But to be a good leader, you need to be a good listener, because all great leaders are excellent listeners. And so you need to work as a team, and you want to take the input from everyone, and then you come up with a calculated decision. And again, within that group, there's nothing personal. Okay. The goal is to get the call right. So, you know, the big saying is, you know, my ego is not my amigo. Like, guys think they have a big ego, can't fit through the door. That's not going to help the team. You know, we are a team and we need to act as a team. And so those things are huge. We need to take that into consideration anytime we go into these situations, that we're as a group, no one is above anyone else. You may have someone to speak on behalf of the group, but we are a team. And then, you know, 3 simple points sum up this discussion, which is communication is the foundation for success. Clear, consistent communication builds trust, fosters alignment, and ensures everyone's on the same page. And communication strengthens teamwork and boosts morale. Communication allows us to make educated, united decisions in high-pressure situations. And communication and clarity builds unity, because then you trust these guys. When you trust these guys, there's no fear out there because you know they got your back. And that's what it's all about. That's where the communication comes in to build the foundation for success. And then mental preparation fuels confidence and resilience. By preparing yourself mentally, it still... Yeah. We good?
I think so.
All right. So mental preparation fuels confidence and resilience, and that's proper preparation. It instills that confidence by anticipating challenges, positive self-talk, and then visualizing success. All parts of those components help build a foundation to succeed. And that's the key, whether it's your pregame routine, in-game adjustments, or anything that puts you in a position to succeed, those are things we need to be doing. And then you execute with precision and stay composed under pressure. And again, I really like to tell all the athletes I work with is once you've trained and you've done it so many times, then you react. And then to me, the reaction from the event itself that's what they call the zone. That's pure just knowing you're there, you're prepared, you see it, I got it. And that's because you're prepared to be there. And then the other thing as I close this talk is the persistence and patience is what wins the grind. You know, you guys got the guys that go on the high highs and the low lows. It's much better just no ebbs and flows, and you just kind of go along like steady on a calm pond. Even though there's a lot of ripples there, you just keep straight, steady, narrow, especially in this final part of the season, because this demands relentless patience and unwavering persistence, because you just can't stop going through it because you've worked too hard to get to where you're at, to where if you give up now, you just wasted the first 4 months of the season. And you've built so much resilience through battling everything you've seen throughout the day that this is the point of the season where it's fun. You have the opportunity to get to the next level and continue to participate. This is where the prize is, guys. This is where all the hard work pays off. And the persistence helps us push through the fatigue, the adversity, the setbacks, the bumps, the bruises, the long drives, while patience keeps the emotions in check, ensuring clear, deliberate decision-making. That's the key. I love it when guys are yelling and why are you yelling at me? Like, I hear you. And if you stay calm, but don't get me wrong, there's a time to snap and tell the guy, like, fuck off, I've had enough. And that's okay. But it's a controlled emotion. It's not one where you're just seeing red and you don't remember what you said. There's a time and place to use that method, but it's not all the time, because if you overplay the hand, if you snap every time, they're going to be like, this guy's just a hothead. But if you handle it in a controlled, focused environment, you're going to be able to manage the situations. And together, these traits allow us to maintain focus, adapt, and excel when it's at the highest stakes of the game, because you've prepared yourself to be there. You're not going to overreact. You're not going to underreact. You're going to be calm. And that's the guy I want next to me, the guy who's not freaking out, losing his mind, tossing everybody out. Comes together as a group. We get a consensus, and we make a decision, and then we inform them of our decision. It's not a discussion we're having after the fact. It's just an announcement of the decision. And the communication with the coaches and players is key at that point, because it's okay for them to have a question. But again, the truth is one sentence. And when they start throwing the whatabouts and how about this and how about that, then no. You stick to the incident they're discussing, and that's it. And it's okay to cut the conversation short once you've said your piece, because eventually it's just like, we're not getting anywhere. We're done here. That's it. And you guys know that. You guys have worked high levels. But any level you work, communication is going to be key. So again, what I want to leave you with is the 3 pillars, in my opinion, are communication, preparation, and persistence. The 3 of these pieces are critical for success, especially in the final months of the season, ensuring that we perform at our very best and leave nothing to chance. So again, you've worked to be where you're at today. This is when you take ownership and pride of where you're at, and you double down on everything you've done to get here today. So that's kind of what I do with athletes. Talk with them about this kind of information. I meet with them once a week, like 45 minutes, and we just kind of go over where they're at and talk about performance. So that's about what I got, Gino.
Carl, this was awesome.
Well said. Awesome.
Totally agree. Very good.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'm sure the group has some questions for Carl. I know you gotta run here shortly, so we'll keep it kind of fairly quick. But
yeah.
You know, one term I loved was "embrace the suck." Like, I don't know about you guys, but like that term is gonna,
totally agree.
You know, that term is awesome, and I almost live by that every day. So
yep.
But I'm going to open it up to the floor. I don't know if, Nat, Ross, you guys want to jump in, say anything or add anything. But if you guys got questions, please feel free, jump in.
Well, I mean, I'll say that, we had an awesome conversation. It was one of the longest, about an hour and 15 minutes. You guys got to check that thing out, right? So that goes over, Carl talks about a lot more stuff. And I know that Ross and I we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
It was good. So
Yeah, no, it was funny. I saw Matt's face light up when you said "embrace the suck" because
yeah,
me being a veteran and
Yep.
Matt still being on active duty, right? Like
Thank you for your
that's the
service.
life.
yeah. Cheers. Yeah,
It's
Yes, thank you very much.
embrace the suck and adapt and overcome, right? Like that's kind of what we do every single game because you never know how each game is going to go. Like you could have a situation that I had on Saturday night where you give a continuation goal to team A, and then 5 minutes later you got to give one to team B, and team A is pissed off that you gave team B that continuation goal,
Oh,
even though you're explaining to them that it was the exact same fucking play.
no, it wasn't.
Or what we had to do Saturday in a college game, which I've never had to do before. We had to clear the stands because the fans were throwing shit into the score box.
Wow.
Oh.
Lovely.
Yeah. So embrace the suck and you go with it. In that situation, we ended up ending the period early, sending the teams to the locker room. The one Maitland police officer, Orlando police officer that was there called for backup. Within 5 minutes, there were like 10 cops there.
Wow,
Clear
West.
That's insane.
That sounds like
Yeah,
me down
clear-
here in Philadelphia.
Hey, I got a question for Carl, right? So you mentioned communication and how your big thing, communication, persistence, and patience, right? What do you do as you see that stuff starting to break down? So hey, you're working on a crew, it's a 3 or 4 man crew, someone's down, right? You said like you walk in the locker room and it's the best day because it's a great day for hockey. But what do you do to pick those other guys up? How do you identify, hey, this isn't going so well for this guy and I need to help? What do you do then?
That's a quick question.
No, that's a great question. And one of the things that I learned in talking with the variety of officials I work with, I always phrase things like, and even do it when I'm calling, in my opinion, like, hey, I like to talk about something in my opinion, because it gives them an opportunity to agree to disagree because it's my opinion of the situation. And so I'll say things often like, hey, do you want my opinion of the situation? Or the play. And, working with guys in the American League, you've got a diverse group. I've got some full-time American League guys. I have some NHL guys I work with, and for God's sakes, I had a guy call me sir the other day. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
We're all
like, wow. I'm like, that hurt. I'm like, that really hurt. But anyways,
disagree.
Oh, I was like, ouch. But anyways, and I'll say to them, I'm like, hey, do you want my opinion of the situation? And I do it in a non-threatening way where it's not like you're saying, hey, you don't want to jam it down their throat. You say, look, hey, in my opinion, I would have handled the situation differently. And then I go ahead and voice my opinion. And then it gives them an opportunity to rebut. And then and again, I'm not doing this safe space bullshit, but it gives them an opportunity where they're not backed into a corner where I say, you're wrong. You didn't do that correctly. And I find when coaches, like when I go to coaches and I'm like, hey, in my opinion, they're like, well, that's bullshit. I said, I'm just giving you my opinion, which is my interpretation of the situation. Right. And like, how can you argue with that based on my experience? So I like to do that with guys. And then I try and find common ground with them in a situation. Like, hey, I don't agree with, I 100% agree with what happened there. You're bang on, I may have done this. And then that way it leaves wiggle room. And you're not putting a guy in a corner and telling him he's wrong. And again, that's my opinion how I would handle the situation.
right on.
Yeah, awesome.
1,000% agree.
You mentioned communication, huddling, and coming together as a crew on the ice. What do you tell a rookie that's out there and there's 3 vets on the game and a situation happens, but the rookie saw something, but he really doesn't know what to do? Like, what do you tell that rookie to, how does he go and communicate something to the crew? And if he's really not like that certain, but he saw the stick hit the kid in the face, but the crew's going, what the heck? Right? Like, how would you, give that rookie some confidence? Like, because I always say we're a team out there, and
the first thing I would stress in that situation, and I have with the younger guys, is I've been encouraging that young official from the first minute I stepped in the door. I wouldn't say pumping his tires, but saying, hey, look, you're here for a purpose. I was at training camp, one of my first camps in 25 years, but I was rooming with a guy who was like, oh my God, I didn't skate well. They're going to cut me. And I'm like, did you hear what they said when we walked into the room after we received our package? Welcome to the American Hockey League. You're an American Hockey League official. I said, they're not judging you on this one performance. Right. You are one of the team. And so what I like to do to stress with the younger guys is just tell them like, hey man, like, glad you're here. And then during the play at our stop, just talk to them and continue like, hey, what do you see? Do you have anything for me? You know, are we doing good here? I saw the switch. That was a great call. So I continually talk to this guy and give him the opportunity to feel like he is part of us, that he's not a non-senior guy, like to make him comfortable that he can share that stuff with him. Because I tell him, I'm like, I make mistakes all the time. I haven't done a perfect game. And, you know, we had an official shut one down when there was, you know, for the goalie pool. Gino, I talked about this today. Yeah. You know, my first comment was, I've done that 100 times. I've done that. Not 100 times, but I've done it once. And I'm like, I make sure I count like 7 times. But I would get that young guy in right off the rip and make sure you're talking to him and making sure he feels part of the group. And then ask him about yourself. Hey, you got anything for me? Like, is there a way I can improve? Because we can all learn something every single game. I see things I've never seen before. But you need to establish that relationship from the beginning and make him feel like he is an integral part of the team, which he is. Right. So that's the way I view things.
Right. That opens the door for him to, you know, feel comfortable asking questions, you know, and now he feels a part of the team and all that. And I always tell rookies, like, hey, you might not know what to do, but the referee does. So give them the information, give the crew the information, and they should know what to do with it. So. Very good.
Well said. If I make it, if I want to jump in, I've only been real quick. I know nobody's so I'm out here in Philadelphia. I've been refereeing for about a year and a half now. So being like a newer official,
very good.
The support that I've had from people that I've gotten the referee with, and like I'm so grateful for it, because there were times where I'm questioning myself and doing things, and I'm grateful for the people that I have surrounded by me. So. For example, Laura White's a really good friend of mine, and I've reached out to her so many times on questions that I've had about games. And there was a time, little sad story here, where I was scheduled for a game. My assigner put me on for it. I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. And I had spoken with Laura. We sat down. I was like, what do you think? Like, do you think I could do this? And she's like, you know what? I think you're going to do great. Because I was getting ready to take myself off the game. And I did it. And it was a 14U AA women's hockey. And it went so well. It was one of my first games I had with parents and coaches. I do a lot of men's league, and it was that first experience I had, and it went so well. And the peers that I had around me, if it wasn't for her, maybe I would have never done that. I would never give myself that opportunity.
Right on. And you know what? It's crazy for this comment to even say, but like the higher the level, the easier it gets, right? Because
maybe I'll get there one day, Gino. I'm still doing my men's league, man. All right.
So even though I'm telling you, 14 women, right? They get it, right? They know what's a penalty. It for whatever reason, it's easier as it goes, but there's still that stuff happens in the hockey game that you do have to, react to. That's difficult. But for, the hooks, holds, trips, everybody kind of gets it. It is easier as it goes up. But anything else for Carl? Anybody else want to jump in here?
Hey, Carl, how do you set the tone with your team like 3 minutes before puck drop? Like what do you do?
Love that.
What do you do 3 minutes before the puck drop to set the tone with your team? And I mean your team, the officiating team.
Yep. No. I got you. Robert. So, like we're set out at specific times in Austin. We go out at the 7-minute mark for the national anthem. But typically, we come together as a group. We've reviewed the lineups. We've talked about the situations, who's there. You do whether it's fist bumps, high fives. But that's kind of when you start setting the energy, and then me, I'm just kind of a clown. I'm slapping guys, poking guys, pushing guys, laughing at guys, just cutting up guys and I like keeping the room loose. For me, is like, you know what? It's a big game. They're all big games at this point. And even at the beginning of the season, they're huge. But I like to keep things loose because I'd rather have guys react than think. Because if you spend a lot of time thinking, often you overanalyze the situation. But I try to keep the guys loose. I'll push guys around at the circle, the center. I try to high five the referees on line changes. I'll poke guys, laugh guys. I'll yell at guys. I just try to do things to keep the mood light because, in my opinion, I think we function best when we're not at that boiling point where you're just so clenched, like you just feel like you have to control the thing so much. But if you're relaxed and shoulders back and you're not stressed out, you just have a better presence. So I really like to keep the mood light. We all know why we're there. We know the implications of the game and how big it is because we've had that talk. Now it's time to have fun and then just react. So that's kind of the way I look at things.
All said.
Right on.
Very good.
Riles, you got anything?
I agree with everything you said, Carl. Just great stuff. And I always tell people I live by the mantra, I'm looking down at the dirt, not up, so it's a good day. So fucking, like I always say, like if you're not having fun refereeing a hockey game, go work some shit job and make, a quarter of the money and then fucking complain to me. You know what I mean? Like if you're not having fun, you shouldn't be doing it.
Awesome.
So all great stuff, Carl. I love it. And remember, from my angle, that was my favorite phrase. From my angle, it wasn't a trip.
Like it.
And you're not saying to the coach it wasn't a trip because it fucking might have been a trip. From my angle, it wasn't a trip. From your angle, it was. I can only call from what I'm seeing. And they can't argue that. I mean, they can, but they really can't. So, I mean, love it. Love it, Carl. I'd love to connect at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll get him on the Zebras.
Well, you got to come on the Zebras, but I'd love to talk to because you got a similar mindset to me. I got better lettuce, but we're on
we'll get him on all the shows. It looks like a couple people got podcasts. We'll get him on the Zebras. We'll get him over here.
Hey, Ross and I found him first.
Calm down. I got a microphone now, Nate. Look at this fucking shit.
I see that. It looks good. You sound good.
Please, no swearing.
Oh, jeez.
I gotta ask, is that his real name, Wyan Dinkelbig? Borg? Is that your real name, Wyan?
No, it's got it.
Can't be.
Yeah, my name's Wyan.
Holy fuck. All right.
Carl, do you have time for one more?
Absolutely.
You talked a lot about
pregame. Going away.
You talked a lot about pregame. You talked a lot about during the game. What about postgame?
So postgame is, you go through and I've had some interesting post games. And some of them would almost be, I wouldn't say like a morbid, like an autopsy type deal, but it just kind of depends how the game goes. Because you've got some guys who are kidding themselves and want to do the fist pumping and think they're the greatest things since sliced bread. And then you got to look back at it. And really, this is where self-evaluation comes into play. And it's not my job to self-evaluate other players or other teammates. My job to self-evaluate where I'm at, where I feel. And, I've been on both sides of the coin. I've had games where I've thought I've performed extremely well, and I've had games where I thought it was horseshit. And I've just kind of taken that with myself. So it's not my responsibility to judge my teammates. I give information to them if they ask me about things. I often see I know we don't call them supervisors anymore, coaches at higher levels that have different opinions about what they see and what I see. So it's kind of different. And I agree also with what Gino says. As you climb the ladder, things get simpler. They're more cut and dry. But I like to do an honest self-assessment for myself. And if I have something that I need to talk to a fellow official about that I may disagree with, I've taken that person aside and I've voiced maybe a concern that I have, but I don't dress down people in groups. I don't make stinks. I don't make waves. I don't shoot down teammates. I don't bus drive guys, but again, I'm harder on myself than anyone else would be. And so it just depends also on the mindset of the fellow official. If they ask her a question, I'll give them an honest opinion within the group, but not from a standpoint that is extremely negative and saying, again, I like Mark's answer from this angle or from that, from my perspective, I like to use those words. But to me, if they ask that question, that lets me know they're aware of self-reflection, because that's the biggest thing for an athlete. If you can't self-reflect, you're not going to improve. I hope that answers your question.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That makes sense, Gino?
Yeah, that made perfect sense. Yeah, I mean,
that's a tough call. You know, you don't want to tell a guy it's dog shit, but you also don't want to pump the guy's tires.
Well, listen, like for me, if you're gonna ask the question, like you can't get mad at the answer, right? Like you
Yeah.
have to be, you have to take constructive criticism, and in this industry,
Yeah.
it's all our criticism are all on our mistakes, right? So like, and it's tough when you think you're right on something and you're seeing something one way because you're only looking at it because you want to be right. And
Yeah.
we strive for perfection, and it's impossible, and you can't ever get there. And it's a very, very tough game, and yeah, I think that was
Well, I
good.
mean, let me give you another scenario, right? What if the guy's not asking something, but he needs to be told, right?
Good point. Really good point.
Do you as a veteran have
No.
the onus to kind of deliver that to him, right?
So you have to know people, right, and approach people differently, right? And not everybody can be approached the same way, and I'm learning that to 9-year-old girls.
Junior, they're teaching you more than you're teaching them.
Right. So,
you can start, Gino, you can start the conversation with, hey,
right.
Can I share a few things with you that I noticed? Or, if you're a veteran guy and they know, you've been around, and that's not to say just because you're a veteran guy, you know what you're doing. Because I know guys who've been doing this for years that still suck. So it's don't get it. So
yeah.
What I'm saying is, if like you have something to share that you think is legit, you do it in the right way. Like Carl said, communication is key, right? So how you say it to them is how they're going to accept it. And always share your personal experiences. Like Carl just said, we've all been there. We've all messed up. We've all missed something. I got fined twice in one season in the Coast League for fucking up. So it's like we all have done it, right? Luckily, they never.
Oh no.
We've all done it, but it's just the way you present it to them.
Was that?
So I think, there is an onus to teach for us, for the veterans, but you just got to do it in the right way.
Yeah.
You must have been working the Coast League when they were paying a lot of money to get fined. Holy crap.
No. Andy Van Hellemont fined me $100 twice. Never took it out of my check.
Oh, it's so
where it went. You know where it went, Mark.
Right?
I'm doing the finger point so I can get called.
That went to the horse track.
I don't want to interrupt anybody. I don't want to interrupt anybody, but I wanted to touch on that. Just being, like I said, like a newer official, like I've always said from the get-go, like, please, if you see any tips or tricks that you can give me or anything I can, like I'll work on something. Even still now, I still do it. And it's always been really, really good. I never had anybody be disrespectful. Well, there was one guy that was actually just a little bit of an asshole, but I've always had good experiences with everybody I've always repped with, and I've always open to like learn because I'm still learning, and there's different situations that I'm being put in now, and working with a good official that's like can deliver it the right way and it's very helpful. It goes so far, and it makes me more confident to keep going.
That's the right attitude to have too as a newer guy.
Yeah.
Like you got to come in with that attitude, and that's when you get better. When you have a good attitude like that. That guy had to be from Philly, Frankie.
He was definitely from Philadelphia. He wears gloves and a bubble. So there's that.
Oh, fuck him.
A bubble.
Eagles,
oh my God.
Hey, go Birds.
I've never wanted a Philadelphia team to win ever in my life, but I hope the Eagles beat the Chiefs because fuck Mahomes. Sorry.
We're all
Oh my God.
We're all here.
We'll see, man. We'll see. I gotta make my way up to Boston sometime.
You can also ask leading questions that could make the person have some self-introspection as well. Because you're saying that you self-evaluate after every game. So if that person isn't doing that, you could do some leading questions to try to get them to self-evaluate.
That's a great point.
All my games are recorded, so I actually have like a video, like because I like to do content, so I have like a videographer that like records me, like refereeing. So I love to go back and watch that for certain things and stuff like that. Because I remember when I first refed, I got called in. Well, I was the D, I was like D man, but I was at the blue line, and I got sucked in a little bit, and that player ricocheted that puck around, and it hit me right where I don't want to get hit. You learn quick with certain things. Positioning was the one thing I really was told to focus on early on, and it's still something I really focus on.
So one of the best ways to do that, and I'm sure Gino's seen him, but Kenny Wheeler is one of the best supervisors I've ever
I would
had.
Yes.
And he likes to go with, and a good way to open that discussion is, so what did you see from there? What was your thought process?
Yes.
And then that way, that kind of opens the door for what you said to get their feedback. And you can ask that question, especially if you've had something significant. When someone asks, like, as a senior guy, how would you approach that? When I hear someone say it as a senior guy, that kind of seems like there might have been something severe that happened out there. Like, holy crap, like, how did you give that guy 5 in a game for cross-check for the face? Or why didn't you give that guy 5 in a game? So that, to me, when you say severity, like, to me, that means it needs to be addressed. So in those situations, the best way to open a door is, so what did you see there? Like, what was the thought process on this? And just ask a question.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great to hear because I was in a situation I kind of mentioned. So I was out for about 6 months. So I was targeted on the ice as a player. And the way that I got hurt, there was no calls, not one. And it kind of got out of hand. And yeah, then there was nothing that was ever done. The players didn't get suspended. There was no penalties called. And I actually like tore my meniscus and got like a concussion. So it was like, there's great reps. There's some reps that just miss things. And sadly, they missed a lot. I was out 6 months. Yeah, I just came back actually.
So I got about 2 minutes, Gino, if anyone's got anything for me.
Yeah, anybody else before we cut Carl loose here?
Thank you so much, Carl, for being here, man. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Likewise.
Thanks, Carl, for coming on. It was awesome.
Great.
Carl, I just got one thing I can't resist
sir.
asking. Being from Western Mass, is Josh Allen one of your clients? And if not, will you be giving him a call?
Well played.
That was, yeah. That's yeah. Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Get rid of my kitchen. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Oh man.
I'm sure I could give him some pointers to deal with the golf season right now.
Speaking of golf season,
close your eyes and swing hard.
Do the boys still do the golf outing at Gino and you guys still do the golf outing out there? You guys did it last year, right?
Yes, we did one last year. We'll probably do one again. We just don't know when, but we will plan that. Yeah, we'll definitely.
Yeah, keep me posted. So I'm a professional videographer and photographer out here with the Flyers, so I'll come down and be a part of it and do some work for you guys, man.
Right on. Yeah, come on out.
I've never been. I've never been out that way. One of my buddies who's a referee out here in Philadelphia actually comes for the weekend when you guys do like the weekend trips and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
He comes out there. He tells me all the time to come, and I'm gonna do it next time.
Would love to have you.
I'd love to be there.
All right, Carl. You have a good night.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all you do, man. Keep up the
No,
good.
that's cool. Hey, I'm gonna drop my. Hey, thank you guys. I'm gonna drop my email in the chat. That way, guys, anyone who wants to email me, feel free to.
Right on.
Always reply. So, all right, appreciate y'all.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, see you, boys.
See ya.
Very nice.
Carl, thanks so much.
Take care, Carl.
Nice.
Yep.
So we're kind of all over the place, I guess, right? We have a lot of East Coast people, or where's everybody?
Yeah, everybody's from all over. So
okay.
Yep, we go coast to coast here.
Right on.
And around the world.
Around the world, man. You got a good mic too, there, man. You sound clear.
Well,
I gotta get a mic.
Yeah, but say Ryle's got one, right?
I have 3 mics. No bullshit. If you send me your address where I can mail you one, I will mail you one. I have a couple of good ones.
Swag.
They're literally just sitting right here.
Love the fact that we're comparing mics.
I got a blue
like
with your name on it.
That's a big one,
man. Mine's not that. Never mind. We're not going there.
Let's stop this now.
Roll
it now.
Roll the first clip.
Yes,
I'm saying stop it. You know it's bad.
We
Yeah,
got
right.
wow. I didn't realize how long this is. Wow. Okay, this is gonna be a fun one tonight, boys and girls.
Oh,